Good morning. I hope all of you are having a great day today. And as you saw, today is National Cheese Lovers Day. And so we're hopefully going to have a pretty cheesy day. And today we're going to be talking about word processing and how that fits into our curriculum, how it fits into our daily schedule. Hopefully, you are using it quite often with your students. I do have a poll question, but I'm going to go ahead and send the sign in form one more time in case you got in here a little bit late. And then I'll go ahead and get our poll started. So the first one um, is a is on a scale from 1 to 5. Oops, where am I? 1 being the least and 5 being the greatest. How confident are your word processing skills, understanding of the application and its tools? So I'm going to put here your options. And go ahead and start. It's not bad. We've got about half of you not voting. I don't know if you're just being shy or if you're not sure how to get to the polls. So go right back to where your chat is, and it's right next to that. You should be able to find it right in there. All right, so we'll go ahead and end this one. And I'm going to go ahead and show everyone here how we did. And not too bad. So that's good. We don't have too many in that lower range, which that's okay. Um, and that could be with any word processor. I'm going to be using that generic term because if you're using a Mac, you might be using Pages. If you're um, using Microsoft Word, that's still okay. If you're using Google Docs, if you're using some other free programs that are out there, those are all perfectly fine. So I'm just going to use word processor because there are several different applications that you could use for that. So the second one I'm going to put out here um, is I'm going to put another one is more for your students. Um, so maybe you use it often enough, but how often do your students use it? And I'm going to say word processor again, but in our case, we're using Google Docs. That may change. Like in the future, in a few years, we may switch from Google to Microsoft again. We'll go back to Word. So I'm just going to use word processor for now. And I'm going to use numbers again. We're going to use 1 for least, 5 for, we use it a lot. So I'm just going to go 1 through 5. So 5, we use it every day. 1, we use it about once a week. So something like that. And here we go. Okay, so even if you didn't get to answer on that one, I'm going to go ahead and end this one and let you see the results for that. And as you can see, we're kind of all over the board, but we're mostly in those maybe once a day, twice a day. Once a week, twice a week. We're in the middle there, 3 times a week. So that's not too bad, and especially for elementary. And the last question I want to ask is like a second part to that. Um, Kind of goes with that first question that I asked you all. How would you rate your students' skills? So using that same scale that you used earlier, if you're not using it every single day, it's probably going to be a little lower than what you rated yourself. Your students' word processing skills on here, 1 through 5. Here we go. I think that one's probably going to stay about right where it's at. So I'm going to go ahead and end that one and show you the results for that. And they're in the lower range here. So about a 2 or 3, not too high. So today we're going to be looking at what they should know around what grades they should know those skills at, when we should introduce certain skills of the word processor itself. And we'll go ahead and get started with that. So I'm going to go ahead and present my screen now. And first thing I want to do is open up my slideshow here. And did everyone get a chance to sign in? Hopefully, I'll go ahead and copy this one more time and put it in the chat for you before we get started. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so today is word processing. It is the one of the tools, applications that your students are going to use throughout all of their school years. So from kinder all the way to 12th grade, they're going to be using some type of word processor throughout all their years in school to be writing and making real writing, creating documents to turn in. And it's going to start from very basic and it gets, of course, a lot more tedious as they go along. So we'll look at what standards that uses and hopefully they'll be able to demonstrate proficiency in using these applications. And here are the two standards that we're going to start off with in kindergarten. And it's using the same one if you were in last week, when we're adding another one. So with guidance and support from adults, respond to questions and suggestions from peers, add details to strengthen their writing, and of course using those digital tools to produce and publish writing, including collaboration with peers. And if I sound a little funny today, I'm just really, really cold in the office today. So I'm kind of like shivering, but hopefully I'll warm up here in a little bit. So we're also talking about remember to keep the keyboarding skills going, and we'll talk a little bit later about that and how to strengthen those skills as well. We'll look into ReadyGen uh, a little bit more, but I just want to go ahead and look at the skill that we're looking at, and then we'll go back to the ReadyGen. All right, so in kindergarten, only one skill is introduced, and it is the word processing application itself. So right now, like I said, we're using Google Docs. It is the free one. It's the one available. It's great because it saves for the students. They don't have to learn how to save it on a jump drive or like we used to have to do in Word, which now Word has that where it saves it automatically as well in the cloud. But the this one saves it automatically to their drive, so it makes it a little easier. Not all students know how to get to it, but it is there. And so they here at this level, they just need to know how to use the application. So open it, write in it, um, edit some, so fix the mistakes that they've made in there, print if that is available, and it does say save, but that just means if they didn't have that feature available. So for us, we do. And then towards the end of kindergarten, I like to let my, and then for any grade really, uh, start thinking about the skills that they would need in first grade or what they're looking at going to be introduced in first grade. So you can always look at those skills ahead of time. So let's go to ReadyGen. And we did look at this last week, but if you weren't here last week, I'm going to go ahead and open up a lesson from kindergarten. And let's go to, we should be about halfway through the year. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Unit 4, Module A. And we're about 3 weeks in. So we'll go, let's head on over to Lesson 4 here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one page back, and it's going to take me right to the writing. And right here, and I did share this with the group last week, and our digital options. I don't like to have it as an option because since we do have the option, I like to say, let's use it and get the students proficient as early as possible and go ahead and have those children start using that word processor because they can draft their narratives. They can, if we don't have a printer, that's okay. Um, just have them go ahead and start using that. But let's look at, so yes, it is in here in kindergarten, but let's see how we're going to help them get there. So let's look at the next one. So go slow. So if you haven't introduced it to your kinders yet, um, take as many steps as necessary. First, you want to explain what is a word processor. And a word processor is just an application that you use to create and edit documents, and explain that to them. I did mention using cards. So these were bought from a teacher store. You can buy them. I don't know if you can maybe order them online. They weren't very much, but just you can make your own. You can print them out, things like that. If we're still learning online, make sure that that vocabulary gets in there. So make sure you're explaining to the little ones what it is and why they're using it. If you're back in the classroom, or if you're able to print these out to the kids and then give them those packets, if you're still doing something like that, you can screenshot it and print it out to them, or you can screenshot it if you're still using virtual learning and turn it into a Google Doc. So let's look at that one. So we're going to open it with Cami. So I'm going to say no thanks because I don't want it to read the text on here. So what I did was I just opened up a Google Doc and then I just took a screenshot of it. And then this way, my students and I can go over all the different parts without them actually being able to click all these little buttons. Because there is a lot to learn in a word processor. So all these little buttons are clickable, all these buttons are clickable, and if you put a kindergartner in there and say, okay, let's open up a Google Doc and let's create something, they're going to want to start pushing all these buttons like, oh, what's this one do? What does this one do? But if you give them a screenshot and you just explain, we're only going to look at this right here, we're only going to look at maybe making the text a little larger, and just introduce one feature at a time. With this, you can tell your kindergartners, okay, let's make a circle around where we title our document, and then just go really slow. And maybe the next day we can review that skill. Where did we put our title? Do you remember where does that title go? And so this is a great way to just introduce the Word document to your kinders. So then, so again, if you're in the classroom, you can open up your smartboard and model on your screen how to create a new document, where to name it, how to type on it. Learning those keys is going to be just, learning her for those little ones. Remind them to keep their hands on there, not use their one finger, hand placement, and just keep working on those skills. All right. And then when you feel they're ready to create their own, if they know where to put their name, the title of their document, how where to type on the document, you can talk about, you can look that again. With this little white outline, you can talk about where the text goes, things like that. When they're ready, you can have them create their own and just keep practicing with those little ones. All right, so going into first grade, we're going to add another standard here. So it's very similar to what we saw in kindergarten. So these two are the same. We're going to add determine and clarify the meaning of unknown and multiple meaning words and phrases, choosing flexibility of an array of strategies. So now our writing, even though we're using a digital tool, our writing's getting a little bit stronger here. So that first skill that we introduced, we're going to keep reinforcing that, but we're going to introduce a few more skills to our first graders, like using the menu or toolbar. We're going to talk about font size. We're going to talk about font. We're going to talk about sizing the font, style, line spacing, margins. I wouldn't go too far into that. Just talk about like that's the space, and that's pretty much all they need to know. They don't need to know how to change the margins at this point. Um, if they accidentally do, of course, you can teach them how to fix it, and then how to format, edit, print a document, again, only if that's available. And we're also going to teach our first graders how to copy and paste images within the document and from outside sources, inserting and sizing a graphic in a document. So those are some really great ways to get your kids interested in using a word processor because they love putting images. It's like illustrating their uh, writing. So, and this is not limited to just first grade. If your kindergartners are ready for stuff like this, uh, and they have been able to do what they need to do, by all means, like go ahead and show them those things, right? All right, and optional if your first graders are perfectly capable of doing this and ready for these things right here, like highlighting text, copying and pasting text, and these are some optional things that you can teach them, and proofreading and editing writing. All right, so how are we going to teach these to our little ones? We're going to introduce them to the new tools that they'll use. Remember to use the proper vocabulary. Like I said, you can use word cards, you can use Pear Deck to reinforce that. You can use all the vocabulary resources that you normally use, just with, digital words. And then copy pasting. For that one, you could always create a video, like a demo, especially if we're still virtual learning and they don't have these skills right now. And if you need help with that skill and teaching them this skill, let me know. Like, hey, Nina, can you please create a video for our first graders so that they learn how to copy paste? I'm having trouble teaching them; they're not getting it. Let me know, and I can totally make something that those little ones can use to um, learn that skill. So that's another reason why I'm here. So I'm here to help you, help your little ones learn these skills that they need to succeed. Um, and then you can create a Google Doc lesson to help with these. So let's take a look. And this is just something I created real quick and simple. I was talking about copy and pasting. So once they do have the demonstration, this is how you do it. They can have something to practice on. So taking this picture here, copying it, and pasting it on this side. So then of course, giving them practice. So after they learn something, give them practice to reinforce those skills. And moving on to second grade. Um, Again, those first two skills, or first two standards, are the same. And the second one is that we introduced in first grade. It is also the same. It doesn't really change until next year, third grade. I kind of skipped first grade Ready Gen, so we'll go ahead and look at the Ready Gen for. Oops, and I think I'm already signed in up here. I'll go X that one out. But just to kind of get an idea, go ahead again. We should be hopefully in Unit 4 by now. Some of us may be a little bit behind, right? But I am not here to judge at all. Then we'll go to lesson 1. Just to kind of get a look at, see how much it changes from year to year and what's expected of these little ones through their writing and what skills they need in order to complete these lessons here. Whoops, I have to go this way because I went to the first lesson instead of the fourth one. Okay. Right here looks like they're still just doing some drafting. Oh, and now they're making some digital charts. So, wow. So from kinder to here, so it's not just drafting and writing, they're actually making some things to organize their thoughts. They are using digital formatting to separate parts of scenes. So let's take a look back over here and see what they need here. So in second grade, they should be proficient in using the Word application to write, edit, print, and save. And we're reinforcing these tools here, which is copy pasting, formatting. So these are some really good ones to know, especially for that lesson that you just saw. But they are being introduced to things like highlighting text, copying, pasting text. If you didn't, that was optional last year, but if you didn't introduce it, so if you didn't introduce it the year before, you need to do it this year. Proofread and edit writing using appropriate resources. These are also very good ones for, especially since these books in second grade, they get a lot more thicker. If you, the dragon one is a chapter book. I remember when I did second grade, the second graders loved that book. Not sure why. All right, how do we teach word processing for second graders? This point in the year, students should have a firm understanding of the basics of a word processor. If you can do this by checking in, sharing their screen if we're still working online, and having them create the new document. Have them go through the steps and having them show you how far they can get along without your help. So making the learning fun. Focus on anytime you introduce something, make sure you're only doing one feature or element at a time. So if you're teaching something, make sure it's just like the font and the size. Today we're just going to focus on learning how to change the font and how to change the size. Today and the next time you're going to learn inserting images and resizing that image until they get those skills down. And we talked a little bit about this last time, tabbing over to other pages for images and making sure that the images that they're using aren't copyrighted, and or if they're being used, it's for fair use. And a tip, because this happens a lot, especially for the little ones, if they accidentally close a tab, teach them this shortcut to reopen it is Control-Shift-T. All right, moving along to third grade, we have another standard that we're going to add to this. So now we have, with guidance and support from peers and adults, develop and strengthen writing as needed by planning, revising, and editing. We have, with guidance and support from adults, use technology to produce and publish writing using keyboarding skills, as well as to interact and collaborate with others. And then we have write routinely over extended time frames, time for research, reflection, revision, and shorter time frames. a single sitting or a day or two for a range of discipline-specific tasks, purposes, and audience. Determine or clarify the meaning of unknown and multiple meaning words, phrases based on third grade reading, content, and choosing flexibly from a range of strategies. Oops, and I can't click my link. Okay. So we'll go back to ReadyGen in just a second. But let's look at some of the skills that they'll need. Uh, use a word processing application to write, edit, print, save, simple assignments, use the menu toolbar. So all the ones that they learned kinder, first, and second grade, all of these are at mastery. If they're not, take a look at where third graders are now. A lot of you said that you're not using it very often, so they're probably not proficient. They probably haven't mastered these skills. Um, so it's time we got to get them there. Start having them use it on the daily, even if it's just as a journal writing, daily journal entry, something like that. But we've got to get these kids proficient in using a word processor. Like I said, it's going to be used throughout their entire schooling all the way up. And we're going to be reinforcing the last two skills that were introduced, which was highlighting text, copy and pasting text, proofreading, editing, writing. And then we're not going to introduce anything at this point. All right, so make sure your students are comfortable using the word processor, being in small groups or one-to-one to ensure that they know how to use the application correctly and with fidelity, and start creating some fun lessons. There's a lot of lessons on Teachers Pay Teachers. I should probably start making a lot on my own. I noticed there's a lot that are free, but there's a lot that cost a few dollars here and there. If you look up, I think I just looked up word processing, and a whole lot of digital lessons came up, and it was ones to help your kids with these skills specifically. So there are a lot out there, or you can create some yourself just so that those kids get these skills. Let's see if I can get to ReadyGen from this one before I go on. So I put it in a spot where I just cannot get to it. So I'll just go ahead and exit. Let's look at what third grade looks like. And see how much it has changed, because that is where the standards changed a lot. This one only, I forget, only has 4 units. Okay, and so this one has students, of course, you're still drafting, so writing on the computer, and emailing or sharing them for peer review. So that is pretty awesome that they're having them do that already. And I think that was in one of the standards, but I'm not sure. Reflection, different audiences. Okay, so yes, so to collaborate with others. Very good. ReadyGen knows some of their stuff, huh? And let's go on to fourth grade. So fourth grade is a lot of the same. The only thing that changes is how much they're doing. This from it went from some keyboarding, and now it's going to go to sufficient command of keyboarding skills to being able to type a minimum of one page in a single sitting, and then also this one changes a little bit um, down here where it's determine and clarify the meaning of phrases based on grade 4 reading. So not too much. All right, so all these are all mastered. So what now? So what are we going to be doing with our 4th and 5th graders? What should we expect from them? So they should have a large digital vocabulary, firm understanding of many of the tools in a word processor. They're ready to deliver their messages to a wide range of audiences effectively and with confidence. So let's take a look at, see if I can click on that. 4th grade and 5th grade. There's 4th grade. And I don't have the scope and sequence for Ready Gen. So if anyone wants to share that with me, um, next time I do one of these, I think next week might be on presentations, like how to use um, things like slides. I can take a look at that so that I can get an idea of where you're at exactly in the curriculum. All right, so now students are conducting research, finding images and videos related to their topic, searching online, and providing so you're providing a list of approved web sources that they can use and access. So teachers have to do a little bit of front loading there for the kiddos. And I think I've seen some of that in here. So yes, using technology, but I think I saw it in a different standard somewhere. All right, so that is what your kids are doing in 4th grade. Let's take a look at 5th grade. I'm wondering, is anyone surprised by how much your kids are having to do on the computer by themselves? And you can put that in the chat, like yes, no, um, a little bit. All right, so this one. Students who have been using dictation software for their free writing may continue with this. If students are maintaining a class website to share their work, have them return to a previous post and adjust it to reflect the work that they have just done on their stories. So, wow, I really like that. So they're actually sharing through a different source, not just through a document. So haven't got to that yet, but that is in some of my sessions ahead of time. Today's session, like I said, is just word processing. Whoops. So I'll go ahead and go back here. Miss Beatty, you've been using Google Slides for a lot of your writing instead of word processor. Okay, so that's okay, and um, that's perfectly fine. They're still getting those computer skills and writing, so I'm not surprised that it's just a different tool, so that's fine too. But I do get a lot of like, wait, kids are supposed to be, that's too soon, they're too little, but it goes very quickly and the skills jump so fast from grade to grade on how much they need to do and how much they need to know by a certain grade. So just taking a look at this and accidentally like put my slideshow. I accidentally closed it in a different window. So I'm gonna put this back and there we go. And close out some of these realized ones. Does anyone have any questions um, about your curriculum or about the skills that they need to know? Um, if you're having trouble incorporating this or how to get these skills taught through the platform that we're using right now, like virtual learning, because we do have some time, about 20 minutes or so, a little bit less, but that's what I'm here for. So I'm going to hang on the line. That is all I have, but I am here if you have any questions on how to get these skills to your kiddos. So I can share this slideshow with you so that you have some of those resources. And if not, I want to thank you for joining today and learning about word processors and how to get your kids proficient with those word processing skills. Thank you guys.